beautiful creative soul, and welcome back to another episode of Chakra Care for the Creative Soul. Hello, my name is Pollyanna Blanco, and I'm your host today. We're helping people to care as much for themselves as they care for the world while they're birthing their dreams. And that's what inspired me to create this show. And today's topic is all about spiritual hygiene for conserving and replenishing your energy. And what inspired this topic today was a recent self-care survey that I felt inspired to co-create. So we're going to be looking at what is spiritual hygiene, because that was something that came up on the survey. Most people had no idea what I was referring to. And then why do we need it? And how does it support us? How can it support us? So it was really interesting when I felt inspired to do the survey. It was actually a friend of mine who inspired me to reach out. I'm going to share some of the findings that I found from it, just to kind of preface our conversation today. So I'm going to just jump over a screen and just sort of highlight a few things that I noticed. And first of all, what are your top 3 self-care practices? Now, this survey wasn't a wide-ranging survey, but it was still a little bit of a litmus test and an indication of a lot of these people were teachers or social workers, single parents. And so meditation was up there, so was breath work and exercise, along with binge watching Netflix, which I thought was amusing. Of course, meeting a friend for coffee, and also napping. And that might sort of sound a little all over the map, as it did for me at first as well, too, because that meditation and Netflix, breath work, yoga, and napping. And napping can be a wonderful practice. However, as I read the survey a little bit more, some interesting points caught my attention. And the first one, and another question, do any of the following surface when you make time for self-care in terms of emotions? Guilt was quite high, so was anxiety, self-criticism, and doubt, along with others who said none of the above. There were fairly high numbers as well, too, for shame, hesitation, unworthiness, and needing to justify yourself to others. So as I read through the rest of the survey, a lot of the respondents saw themselves as being in some sort of caretaking role. And while most of them felt supported in their life, when it came to the question, do you ever postpone self-care when you know you need it? Only 20% said no. The rest were sometimes to an absolute hard yes. When people were asked what's the number one reason why you postpone self-care when you know you need it the most, overwhelmingly it was not enough energy. And so this is what really caught my attention in sort of combination with some of the other things that I heard from this, received as feedback from the survey. Because today, as we're talking about spiritual hygiene, and I'm just going to hop back over to the studio here. As we're taking a look at what is spiritual hygiene, it's just very simply, I just want to kind of give it a very simple definition. I don't want to belabor it too much, but it's basically about, as I've come to understand it, keeping our energy clean and clear. And if you're here watching, you're probably already aware that you're an energy being. And if you're still awakening to that, then this will hopefully offer you some affirmation or further your awareness moving forward. I really, in my whole heart and soul, believe that we are energy beings first before we're physical beings. For years, I've been fascinated about this topic, and I've read and I've studied, and I've also been exploring energy healing as a practitioner, as a Chakradance facilitator, as an intuitive, through my own, rituals and self-care practices. for cleansing and clearing my energy. And what I've noticed is that I find them to be very empowering. I find them to be conscious choices that really allow me to, or I don't even want to say allow, invite me to direct how I dance with, play with, work with my energy. And so years ago, I did a video on my YouTube channel, Multidimensional Muse, about spiritual hygiene as well. And that's one of the videos that I think spoke to people the most out of all of the videos I've done to date so far. And it was from about 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was back in 2018. And that back then I was talking about a spiritual practice that I love to use. And I started using it around the age of 30, which was violet flame decrees. And since then, I've been really exploring all kinds of different practices. However, before I get into some of the practices, and I'm going to lead you through a guided practice that I use daily a little later on in today's show. So I hope you'll stick around for that. What I do want to share is that a little bit of background for those of you who might be newer to this topic of being an energy being, without going too much in depth, because that could be a whole series of shows. I do want to say this, that, we're living in a quantum universe. We're living in a multidimensional universe. And so in three-dimensional reality, it's about the physicality. It's about, the concreteness of our sort of our physical body. As we start to expand our consciousness and our sense of who we are beyond just the physical, when we start to recognize in 5D that we're emotional beings, it's not in 3D that we don't acknowledge we have thoughts and emotions, but we primarily identify with being a physical being. This is why, if something happens to our physical body, we want it fixed, replaced, upgraded, or we want a pill to pop that will take away the pain, because we put more credence, more weight on the physical pill to fix the problem. While we might know we have emotions and experience emotions and have thoughts, they somehow seem to be less of an influence than what we can physically do with the material world stuff that we have the choice to choose from. As we move into 5D, we become much more conscious of how our emotional state influences our physical state and even our mental state. And we start to strive for being in our heart more. And then I find that as we start to expand out into 70D, we become aware of, it's not that we weren't aware of our mental chatter before that. However, for so many of us, and that was one of the things that came up in the survey, there's a lot of self-criticism or being hard on ourselves or doubting ourselves. And when we move into 70, this is when we start to move into looking towards mastering the mind, so that the thoughts can support the emotions, can support the physical form of being. And the thoughts, it's about neutralizing them, about noticing them without getting hooked into them, the same way as we notice our emotions in 5D and we don't get hooked into them, and we consciously choose to be in our hearts. And then as we move into 9D, we move into the spiritual essence of who we are, the sense that we are the field, noticing the other fields of awareness through our thoughts, our emotions, and our body. And so this is the place where I want to just jump off from, in the sense that when I talk about us being energetic beings, as I've come to understand it, and the best way that I can possibly unpack it for those of you who are maybe awakening to this, or are just curious to hear how I would answer that question, given the topic today, is that, I used to think when I first started my inner awakening, spiritual awakening journey, that the auras around the physical body that a lot of people talk about are the energy field. and then there's the physical body. What I have now come to know is that it's kind of like a hologram. It is a hologram, really. Every single cell, molecule, electron, you name it, telomere, mitochondria, has an energy field around it. It's kind of, I always go back to the example of those Russian dolls, those wooden Russian dolls, where there's another doll inside another doll inside another doll. There are these energetic fields or templates, if you will. A lot of them are electrical. It's really electrical, that hold the possibility for the physical expression to materialize. I remember in my book that I wrote that came out back in 2014, in Rhythm with Your Soul, I was captivated by it, finding a way to kind of explain this. And I've always been drawn to how science and spirituality meet. And there, I talked about Saxton Burr and his salamander experiments, and how he saw that there was a magnetic field, and also he, with salamanders, like a negative and a positive pole, and then this electrical field around them, and in terms of it's the field itself that has the information that informs how the physical expresses. And so I hope you're tracking with me so far, because where I'm going with all of this is that if we're talking about spiritual hygiene and keeping our energy clean and clear, it's about becoming aware of the field, or I'm going to also use another word interchangeably, our environment, our inner environment. And what are we feeding it? How are we nourishing it? The more we, and I mean, so much of our experience too, they say this is in our, what's going on underneath the hood of our human vehicle, our Merkaba vehicle, in physical form, is subconscious. So sometimes, despite our best conscious intentions, there's certain patterns that can repeat themselves, and so this is where we can sometimes miss things very easily that we're just simply not aware of yet. They haven't bubbled up to the surface yet to meet with our awareness so that they can be healed and cleansed. And this is where I find spiritual hygiene comes in, because what oftentimes bubbles up to the surface in all of us are our emotions, our thoughts, and our physical aches and pains. And when we don't have the spiritual piece, which is the awareness piece, which is the sense of an expanded presence, noticing what's going on, then the opportunities to cleanse and clear our energy are misunderstood. When that little bit of anxiety or doubt or frustration or anger bubbles up to the surface, or oftentimes it may do so in the form of a memory. Our minds love to recycle, memories from the past. And oftentimes they might be happy memories. They could be happy memories, which is a great way to anchor into a wonderful feeling state. Yet so often they aren't. They're, regrets, or moments where we're looking back and thinking, why did I do that? Or beating ourselves up. And so when those awarenesses come into our field of conscious awareness, where a lot of people get tripped up is they engage on the level of those emotions or thoughts. They treat them as things. And then not only do they treat them as things, they identify with being those things. I am angry. I am not enough. I am good or bad. And this is where the wash, rinse, repeat cycle, the 50 first dates, keeps going on, and we create these pain loops. And the point that I'm trying to make here is part of spiritual hygiene is recognizing that when those moments, those little twin ouch moments, when our invitations to heal the ouch, heal the hurt, and release it and not get rehooked into it and reattached to it, it's something that actually is coming up, bubbling up into our awareness, so we can free it, we can liberate it from our energy being, because our thoughts and emotions have an energetic vibration, an energetic frequency, a voltage to them. And one of the big things in the survey that came up is people felt like they having enough energy was the biggest reason why they didn't do their self-care. So this becomes part of the self-sabotage cycle of why we don't care for ourselves, even when we know we should. We understand it's important to, because we're leaking energy everywhere from, you know, these old thoughts and emotions that are coming up. And over time, old thoughts and emotions can lead to chronic grade stress, which anchors as pain and discomfort and even accidents in our physical body. And ultimately, over extended periods of time, chronic disease, even. And so, spiritual hygiene is about keeping our energy clean and clear, in the sense that we start to develop a different relationship to those aspects of ourselves than we were taught to. And when they do come up, we're not fearful of them. We don't try to stuff them down and make them go away or fix them or judge them. Instead, we meet them with curiosity and from a place of neutrality, where we aren't engaging with them, but we're observing them, and we're recognizing them as invitations to release them. And so this is the inner environment that we want to keep clutter free, energetically clutter free, get all those dust bunnies out. As we do that, then what happens is our outer environment begins to shift and change too. And our outer environment, when we have noise or static on the line, then there are these, like, not only where we're leaking energy, maybe we're constantly having this pattern of feeling frustrated, hooking in, and then that becomes a story we tell ourselves about certain experiences and then who we are. Then that's a filter we've just kind of put over our eyes, just like when you go to the optometrist and they change the lenses to see which lens is going to help you to see most clearly. Those are like filters that we put over our eyes, our perception, not our physical eyes, but our perception of the world and ourselves in the world, that then start to draw even more experiences to us to help us to pattern interrupt things. Yet when we don't see it for that, the flip side of it is, instead of recognizing, again, like I mentioned earlier, all of those outer experiences just only further reinforce the inner environment. And so that's one of the best ways I can think of to explain, as a sort of a context for spiritual hygiene, why we need it. And I think this is why too, in our outer world right now, because it's so soupy, if there are places in us where we have, and there's no judgment in any of this, we've all been there. There are moments where it feels like it's more appropriate to burst into tears and let the energy flow and let it out, or punch a pillow. And there are other moments where we sometimes have to park things and bracket things and come back to them later. And sometimes that later just never comes for so many reasons. We lead busy lives. We have children or families that need our attention, or we're just simply too tired by the end of the day to actually open up that, can of, what, and deal with it. It's just not appetizing. And so when all these things are, bubbling underneath the surface, they don't just disappear on their own. They get stored in our physical body as pain, as discomfort, as illness. And I share all of this with you too, because I did study with Sri Ramka, my late beloved teacher, beautiful ascended master that he is, medical intuition through Avesa healing. And that just really opened my eyes so much. So, one of the biggest reasons people are often drawn to spiritual hygiene is because they're feeling very negative experiences in the world. They have a sense that they're being watched, or people are psychically attacking them, and all these kinds of lower vibrational experiences are going on. And so a lot of spiritual hygiene, and where I started from with my spiritual hygiene, was more around protection. And what I want to share with you today is that it's more about conserving and replenishing your energy. Conserving in the sense that you want to find ways to recognize where you're leaking energy, and then ways to generate and replenish your energy regardless of what's going on outside around you. You know, it came into my field of awareness just this morning as I was doing my morning practice that you can be busy and purposeful and not be stressed out. I think a lot of people equate, and I know I did not that long ago, with being busy as needing to be, as meaning you're stressed out, as being synonymous, and it's not. I lead a very busy life. It doesn't mean that I'm not present, and it doesn't mean that I'm stressed out all the time. And so I think we've got this dichotomy that's healing too, as people become more aware of their expanded multidimensional self and how to really integrate these practices more seamlessly, breath by breath, step by step, day by day, into how they go about dancing with each day and living their life. I know this is something every day I practice, and I look to find new ways and just practice ongoing ways to continually refine and refine and refine how it is, and how I experience it in my own life. So, what I want to share with you right now is, in a moment, is a practice that I've been using. I use it every morning now, and it's an amalgam of teachings from a teacher I've had on the show, Sonia Evans. Recently, she was just on, I think, in the last show. We've had a 2-part series, and she'll be back on again. Uh, from my beloved teacher, Sri Ram Ka and Master Lady Kira, and then some of my own sort of things sprinkled in. So, like a lot of us, we're collecting practices, and we're sort of, and then I've been receiving a lot of downloads recently. See, another sort of epiphany moment for me was that it's all good. The spiritual protection, the psychic protection has its place, because, like I shared earlier, the Russian doll effect, we want to honor all aspects of ourselves. There is a part in all of us that is expanded. We're all expanding right now, whether we realize it or not, because change is just a part of life. Expansion is a part of life. And there are also parts of us that may be clinging and constricting and creating a little bit of, noise or friction on the line. And those are the parts of us that, if they need the psychic protection to feel acknowledged, to feel seen, to feel heard, so they can get on board with the rest of us that's expanding, I say, well, what's the harm in that? It's just, as my spiritual teacher, Sri Ramka Lady Kira, Master Lady Kira Rao would say, it's right now more than ever, especially in this month of March, is this beautiful oracle blessing that she has shared. It's a month of awareness, and I encourage you to get her Yoga of Self-Ascension planner. The second part of it is out now, and it is phenomenal. It is loaded with so many goodies. You got to check it out. Go to shriandkira.com to check it out. It's a resource like nothing else you're going to find out there if you're on your inner awakening ascension journey. And they're going to be coming on today at 12 noon. So I'm going to be out of the studio real soon after I share the practice with you. I do encourage you to go to Oneness Talk Radio, Facebook, and YouTube to catch the monthly predictions. They're amazing. And the integrity and the purity and the sincerity of of the teachings and the being is beyond words and beyond what I can express here. As you know, I'm a loyal and devoted follower of this beautiful community and teachings, because they are so consistent and they are so committed. And so the practice that I use, I'm going to guide you through it. And this is just what I share with myself every morning, and I share with Spirit. is I find naturally that I do it in the shower now. And I start off by simply connecting with a few Ave style breaths, which is breathing in Ave and exhaling Sa, and allowing a beautiful smile to form on my face. So the Ave is an intention to connect with my divine expanded self. And then the Sa is a beautiful trusting, relaxing into and releasing that I am surrendered and open and ready to be guided by this divine presence that I'm acknowledging is here now in me and through me. And then from there, I very specifically share, I release anything that is not of the light down the drain. And I revoke any consent to any manufactured, manipulated, or contrived inorganic timelines in any space, time, dimension, reality, universe, multiverse, parallel life, dimension, etc. And I command the light to be on the highest possible timeline now. And I make this available to my beloved, my mother, my friends and family, my clients, my students, according to their soul's permission and free will now. I call in the gold ray seraphim and the Holy Cosmic Mother, Holy Cosmic Father, magenta and aquamarine rays to cleanse, purify, illuminate, and balance every cell, electron, molecule, telomere, mitochondria in my body until my whole being is transformed into pure light, into my light body, my Merkaba vehicle, my Christed Overself body, my galactic blueprint. And I send thanks and gratitude deep into the crystalline core of Mother Earth. And if you continue to breathe in that gratitude, setting the intention to anchor and root into the 8 different Schumann waves, sense of belonging, safety, purpose, and passion for being here now in this now experience, open to having it being even further revealed to me. As I breathe that gratitude back up, I breathe it up to about a foot beneath my foot chakras, to my earth star chakra, and I intend and sense and invite a beautiful crystalline lotus flower to begin to open and spin. And I breathe the platinum plasma light up from the crystalline core of Mother Earth through this lotus flower, up along my chakra pillar, my pillar of light, sending it all the way up to my 12th chakra, the 12th dimension of my expression, and just allowing this beautiful platinum plasma light to be a beautiful sheath of light around my energy being, around my physical body, my energetic fields around my physical body. And I just set the intention to be here now and to be in love with life and all that is alive. And with that, I am complete. And so that is my morning spiritual hygiene ritual. And I just shared it with you in faith and trust that it will offer you something valuable to offer you an example of what I use daily that supports and nourishes my energy, cleanses and clears it, aligns me through the power of word, through the power of focus, intention, and I visualize my whole body being this beautiful gold, magenta, and aquamarine energy as I'm standing underneath the shower. It's such a beautiful experience. Other things I like to use too is I like to use my Egyptian healing rods from Sri Ankara. These are beautiful. A lot of you have these, and if you don't, check out sriankara.com. These are really powerful, and that's a whole other show. Throughout the day, I check in with myself. I check in with my energetic dips, and now that I am perimenopausal, I notice my body is incredibly sensitive, and the gift of being perimenopausal, I'm going to do a whole other video on the gifts of being perimenopausal from a spiritual perspective, is that if my emotional or mental body dips, my body speaks to me rapidly. It wants to tell me and let me know that it's time to check in and rethink things. So I hope you found that helpful. I'm just looking at the time and I want to be mindful of it so that I'm out of the studio in time. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful week ahead, infinite creative blessings and infinite creative possibilities, lots of love and light. Be well, beautiful creative souls.